Well, this was unexpected, especially in light of recent events. And I'm talking about using gold to punish a certain organization. And it has to do with Russia. And it's not Russia this time. I'll explain as we explore. Sanctions against Russia have been strong and powerful, but although they have not had the desired effect that most of the West had hoped, regardless, there's other sanctions that have been going on as well too that many of us probably didn't realize, but what has just been announced here is quite surprising. If you enjoy stories like this where I talk about precious metals, especially with how they relate to the news, hope you will consider subscribing to the channel, pressing that notification bell, and commenting down below. I'm very curious to see what you guys think about this news here. But there is stories now that are making the news, and I'm going to be quoting from the AP on a story here with regards to the Wagner Group. That's right, the U.S. has just announced, and within a day, imposed sanctions on 4 firms and 1 individual connected to the Wagner Group, who were the Russian mercenaries that led a brief revolt against the Kremlin last week. And some people are arguing as to whether or not there was a coup, some sort of an insurrection or a revolt. Whatever it was, they were making fast headway. They took over an area that was influenced the size of Florida in Russia, and they were within under 200 miles of marching to Moscow. People can say that the United States perhaps may have been involved in that operation. The United States officially denies it, and these sanctions here are kind of bolstering that point. The sanctions from the Treasury's Office of Foreign Asset Control targeted entities in the Central African Republic, United Arab Emirates, and Russia that were connected to the Wagner Group and its founder, Yevgeny Prigozhin. The sanctions are not directly related to last week's uprising. The U.S. has previously issued sanctions against Prigozhin and the Wagner Group multiple times, including alleging that he had tried to interfere with the 2016 election. And you remember, Prigozhin and the Wagner Group were obviously closely tied to Putin and Russia, and they were hired mercenaries, essentially, in this war. And gold comes in many different forms. By the way, stay tuned, because before this video ends, I'm going to be unboxing 2 packages here, or unpackaging, of new gold that I've purchased here recently. So stay tuned for that. Diamville SAU and Midas Resources SARLU are 2 mining firms based in the Central African Republic and connected to Prigozhin. Were targeted for sanctions, along with Russia-based limited liability company DM, which conducted gold sales, and Dubai-based Industrial Resources General Trading, which provided support to Diamville. The U.S. also sanctioned Andrei Ivanov, a Russian executive in the Wagner Group. Treasury says Ivanov worked with Malian government officials on weapons deals, mining projects, and other Wagner Group activities in Mali. Treasury says that the sanctioned firms engage in illicit gold deals to fund the Wagner Group so it could sustain and expand its armed forces in Ukraine and Africa. So they have a reach outside of just Ukraine, and it looks like they are pretty well funded and well connected to some of these gold operations. You know, you think about what it takes to get gold, and likely this organization, which is made up of largely convicts and others that are scrupulous individuals, apparently, and they are indeed don't care how they get the gold out of the ground. It's just that they get it. Most of the gold that you see here has been mined ethically, I would assume so. They're mostly tied to sovereign entities, but nonetheless, the group of 7 nations in June agreed to ban Russian gold imports, trying to prevent Russia from swapping gold for more liquid foreign currency that is not subject to current sanctions. The Wagner Group funds its brutal operations in part by exploiting natural resources in countries like the Central African Republic and Mali, according to Brian E. Nelson, Treasury's Undersecretary for Terrorism and Financial Intelligence. The United States will continue to target the Wagner Group's revenue streams to degrade its expansion and violence in Africa, Ukraine, and anywhere else. The Treasury Department previously pointed to the United Arab Emirates, a key strategic partner in the United States and the Middle East, as a country of focus for allegedly serving as a hub for Russian sanctions busting. A 2020 assessment by the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency found that the United Arab Emirates may be serving as a funding source for the Wagner Group. Emirati officials deny the allegation. So this is kind of convoluted and stretched out among different areas, and that's how some of these organizations are run. They have a deep network that spans among multiple entities. U.S. spies earlier this year caught Russian operatives boasting that they had convinced the UAE to work together against U.S. and UK intelligence agencies, according to documents exposed in a major intelligence breach in April. According to the document viewed by the Associated Press, Russia's FSB reached an agreement with its counterparts in the UAE that has the U.S. believe would deepen their liaison relationship. The UAE dismissed the allegations as categorically false, and the U.S. declined to confirm the document's authenticity. UAE is important because in Dubai, that is known as the gold hub, essentially, of the world. Several other U.S. government agencies issued new advisories Tuesday focused on gold trade across sub-Saharan Africa. The Wagner Group mounted a short-lived armed rebellion against the Russian government, and really, according to Prigozhin, it was about against the Russian military, not necessarily the government. He didn't want to overthrow the government. And he agreed to flee to Russian Belarus. He's actually there now, confirmed, which has supported Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Russian authorities said Tuesday that they have closed a criminal investigation into the uprising and are not pressing an armed rebellion charge against Prigozhin. Likely he's probably on borrowed time, though, nonetheless, until this blows over. But Putin is kind of in a tough spot there. We'll see how it plays out. But the fact remains is that the Wagner Group itself, though largely kind of disbanded right now, is being targeted, which means that they still may be a threat and may have an underground kind of entity or enterprise going on that's even more underground and behind the scenes, and maybe the United States intelligence services discovered this, and so this is why they have imposed these sanctions. I don't know. It's interesting to see. Who knows? This could be all one big false flag, and many people think it's a false flag as denoted by the United States, but this could have been orchestrated by Putin himself. Could have created this whole shebang. You never know. Wouldn't put anything past him. But there you have it. So fascinating story indeed. I don't know how this is going to play out, but nonetheless, what we are about is accumulation of gold in order to protect ourselves. And see, gold is so important because it can't be traced once it's melted down. You know, there's no way to source to where it is. This is why it's such an important thing for some of these organizations. And by the way, it's an important thing for those of us here in Western nations and democratically minded nations or inclined nations to accumulate gold to protect against what these central bankers are doing. And we know we're moving more towards an individualized sanctioned state where they will definitely come after us. They already are in some first world nations. Look at the truckers in Canada, which is why having gold is a good idea to protect yourself in case you need to have some sort of backstop against what they are doing with the surveillance state that we find ourselves growing further and further into. So that's why I'm continuing to, or at least ahead. I'm slowing down a little bit. I have yet to discuss that, but I've got 2 ounces here to show you here. I'm going to unbox these things here, or unpackage them. They're already unboxed. The first one here It's coming to us from Monument Metals from a pre-order made quite some time ago. It's part of a collection that I'm doing from the Klondike series. What I would give for a Klondike bar, but the next best thing is a gold coin in a blister pack. The latest in the series, yes indeed, here it is, of 5 nines pure gold. This is I think the third series out of the 5 nines gold program from the Royal Canadian Mint, the only mint to produce pure gold coins of such a high purity, 5 nines pure gold, and that's exactly what this is. A wonderfully, beautifully struck here in this nice, small credit card size assay card here, which is very, very nice, and for the year 2023. And it has the legacy portrait, Susanna Blunt's 2003, double dated now, effigy of the Queen. It's actually the worst portrait of the Queen ever in the history of coinage, without a doubt. That's just my opinion, but nonetheless, this is a $200 denomination, very nicely done, and it also has a reeded edge and an alternates between reeded and smooth edge specific to this series. The first one was versions of the commemorative maple leafs, and Royal Mounted Police, I think, also was another one. This series, I think, lasts for 4 coins, if I'm not mistaken, through the Klondike gold rush in 1896, I think, through 1899. And this is the third, and I believe there's one more year, and then they will move on to another series. But can't say that for sure. It's not been explicitly detailed in any kind of documentation I've been able to find on it. But this is the purest gold coin you can get in bullion form, and no question about it. And it's pretty neat to have it. So adding that to the collection, as well as the stack from a pre-order from quite a while ago. And the only other reason why I made this other purchase right here from JM Bullion is I had a credit that they gave to me for a coin that had a big mark on it. In fact, I've got the coin here. I pulled it out because I wanted to show you. It's a pretty big scuff, but I decided to go ahead and keep the coin because these are a very limited mintage. But you can see here, this is the Memorial Sovereign, and you can see right on the shoulder, right there, right by my crusty thumbnail, you can see that little spot there. It's pretty apparent. So they gave me a $100 credit. I had to negotiate that with them, but I think it was well worth that. And so that $100 credit was going to expire soon enough, and I took advantage of the dip in prices. And at the time I purchased this, with that $100 discount, I got it for under spot price. With a recent dip, under spot price. So I found some cheap gold, and that's what this is here. Pull it out. And there's another assayed piece of gold here. The Asahi Gold Bar, 1 ounce gold bar. Also, considering as part of a collection, if you will, of all the major manufacturers of 1 ounce gold bars, I'm thinking about doing, of getting the other major brands that are out there. And the Asahi is one that I didn't have, so I may continue this collecting form of collecting here. We'll see. But pretty interesting indeed. So there it is. So there's your gold. 2 more ounces added to the stack/collection. Let me know what your thoughts are about the mining or about the sanctions against the Wagner Group. Hope you found this video informative, insightful, educational, and slightly entertaining. And I want to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.